You know that feeling like you're living inside a world that's, well, bounded by your own thoughts and perceptions? We're about to dive into a really fascinating spiritual text that calls this a self-made cocoon. And more importantly, it gives us a roadmap for how to emerge. So let's start this journey together, from that cocoon to real consciousness.
Okay, let's just jump right in with a big question. Are the walls of your world, the reality you see and feel every single day, are they the absolute truth, or are they just a reflection of something happening deep inside you? This is the core idea we're going to unpack.
This quote from our source material really just hits the nail on the head. It suggests that what we call truth is often just the inner lining of our own limited world. We're literally looking at the threads we've spun ourselves and mistaking them for the whole universe.
So this brings us to our first big concept, this idea of a self-made cocoon. What exactly is it? How do we build it? And what does it really mean to live inside one? Let's break it down.
The metaphor here is just so powerful. We're like this caterpillar, kind of burdened by our own human stuff, and we spin this small, protective world all around us. But, and this is the key, just like that caterpillar, the text says we have this deep inner need to transform, to emerge as a butterfly, which represents our true eternal self. The text actually gives this cocoon world a specific name. It calls it our plasma or our aura. It's described as the shadows of our soul radiating outward from us. Now, this is a huge insight. The world we see isn't something that just happens to us. It's a direct projection from our own inner state.
And this right here highlights the core conflict that's going on inside of us. On one side, you've got the person. That's our everyday self, stuck in the usual ways of thinking and talking. But on the other side, there's the soul, and it's yearning for something much deeper, for what the text calls the eternal stream. It's in that gap between these two selves where all that frustration and discontent really comes from.
So, if we're trapped in this cocoon we made ourselves, where's the key to get out? Well, the text suggests the answer isn't somewhere out there, it's deep within. This is a massive, massive shift in perspective. Instead of thinking of ourselves as these flawed people trying to reach for something holy out there, the text is telling us to wake up and realize that the divine is already living inside us. You don't need to search for a temple because you are the temple. That's a game changer.
But what does it actually mean to live in this temple? It's not passive, it's an active process. It means consciously saying no to all those egocentric thoughts and aligning your entire being, everything you feel, say, and do, with a higher divine principle.
And let's be really clear, this isn't some sit back and relax kind of deal. This journey to the Holy of Holies within yourself takes work. It's all about consciously looking at and overcoming what the text calls our base humanness. The ego, the desires, the shadows, so we can live by a higher eternal law.
Okay, so if we're a temple, how does that temple interact with the world? The source explains this through a really fundamental concept, the flow of energy. Everything we are, our feelings, thoughts, words, actions, it all builds up something called our sending potential. Think of it as the unique energy signature we're constantly broadcasting out into the world. And the key takeaway here is that you can only send out what you yourself are made of.
And this isn't just a personal thing. The text paints this picture of the entire universe as one giant, interconnected communication network. Every single one of us is like a little node, constantly sending and receiving energy. It's presented as a fundamental law of how everything works.
So if this energy is so precious, how are we wasting it? The text gives some examples that are probably going to sound pretty familiar. Every time we argue or show off our ego or get lost in just wanting more and more or compete just to prove a point, we're leaking this vital life force.
Now, this whole idea of an inner temple has huge implications for our relationships. If each of us is a sacred space, then how should we treat the temples of other people?
The core principle is just profound respect. The text is crystal clear. Do not intrude, don't push, don't demand, don't force your energy onto another person's sacred inner space. Because when we respect their temple, we're also protecting our own.
And this is a crucial point. It's not just about being polite. According to this text, when we force our will onto someone else, we are literally robbing them of their life energy. We're preventing them from being able to hear their own inner guidance.
And here we are, right back at self-awareness.
You simply cannot truly see another person, their soul, until you've done the work to see your own. Real connection doesn't come from looking at someone's outer shell. It comes from seeing them from your own purified inner core.
Okay, this is where it all comes together. We've identified the cocoon, we've located the temple within, so what's the final part of the journey? How do we make this inner reality permanent and get to what the text calls oneness? The source gives us a really clear four-step path. First, you start with honest self-recognition. You have to really look at your own thoughts. Then you work to clear up anything that isn't aligned. Next, you make a conscious decision to live by higher principles. And finally, all of that work leads you to a state of absolute inner stillness and peace.
And this is the goal. What a beautiful metaphor for the ultimate state of being. The point isn't to disappear. It's to realize that as one individual drop, you contain the full essence of the entire ocean. Your individuality is still there, but you know it's part of a much, much bigger whole.
In this state of unity, all that separation created by the ego, those shadows, it just dissolves. There's no more me versus you. There's just this seamless interconnectedness where everything is permeated by light. It's a state of total transparency and connection.
So as we wrap this up, the final question isn't some abstract concept. It's an invitation for you. As you look at the threads of your own cocoon, the thoughts, the habits that define your world, what's one small thread you can gently begin to unwind, starting today?